And Amanda discovered the discrepancies.
Okay.
So what we're gonna work from is the clean copy and the lettering
Mhm.
and the headers, so that we can identify where those differences would be placed. Right under, on page 1, there is, you can see there's a strike through right next to the report, word reports. There's a little dash there. Do you see that?
The very bottom of page 1.
Oh, thank you. Page 1.
Yes, sorry.
Oh, yes.
So there was a sentence there that said, building PBIS team members may be a part of the SCSC. And so that should have been left in there but struck out. Because it's in the current contract. And it looks like it was struck out and then removed, and there's a little.
So you said it's right before the word reports.
Correct.
Okay.
So,
Mhm.
and then the only other thing was at the very top of page 2. That acronym SCSC is still there, so that needs to be struck. And then actually we need to put the name of the actual name of the committee. Right, so we're no longer using that acronym SCSC, is that correct?
So reports from building, and it won't say SCSCs anymore, it'll say something else.
It should say
Building
safety
Safety
committee.
Committee.
Okay.
Building Safety. It's already got building.
Yeah, thank you for
Safety.
finding those.
Mhm.
Angela, are you making those
Yeah,
changes?
I am.
Okay, so there's no acronym for this committee.
It's been
building
changed
safety.
to show.
Thank
so
God. No more acronym.
Oh,
Okay, and what?
So,
And then we
what's
right in
missing
front of
is-
the report.
It's this
What is it?
building PBIS team members.
Building TBS team members may be a part of the SCSD, that should be struck.
Yeah, but it's missing the.
The whole sentence is missing from the
It's
current,
as if it was never there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
except for that little remainder of a strike through that got left in there next to the
Which-
report.
I took out.
thank you for the name.
Need this. Changes.
And I'm assuming we would sign this, or this would be the one we sign along with the rest of these.
Yeah.
Did people actually say, I'm going to the SCSC? Did people use that acronym or is that just? for
No,
fun?
no.
Okay.
The cool kids. Didn't know the cool kids do that?
I was never that cool.
They
Sorry.
thought they-
I'm glad I didn't see it.
Let me strike that. All right. I got it. Mhm. That was it.
That was it, but otherwise we have an agreement on this package.
Great,
Hey, thank you.
good, that's some big bunch of articles got off the
Get
table,
off the
so
table.
that's great, appreciate that.
Awesome. But we have to.
And you shared those clarifications on 8, right?
I did,
These two?
yeah.
Okay. Just
Oh.
for the notes, are we, so we're
Yes, okay.
seeing the package?
There's one thing that we want to make sure we get on the record. In regards to, which article was it? Remind me. Meetings for association,
Association rights,
association, the G, in Article 3.
GBA rights, right.
Thank you for reminding me. Mark, do you want to go ahead with that one? This is
The mutually agreed upon times for the announcements.
Article 3H.
So we had previously discussed this, and we heard clearly from your side that it's not here's a list of dates that I find acceptable as your administrator picks up. That they would talk and they would come to agreement. We fully acknowledge and understand there are some months, December, where there may not be any district controlled meetings that month, and it's going to have to come out of a member collaboration day or something like that. But we wanted, again, just for you to state, so that we're sure we agree on that, that this is a collaborative approach between the principal and the building rep to find times that work, that aren't all member collaboration days, that aren't predominantly, I would say, member collaboration days.
I agree with that.
It
And
shouldn't be a
then,
multiple choice, it's a list. You never choose that.
yeah, and it would be the same the other way,
Correct.
a member couldn't come and say,
These are.
I'm on for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So we have a package here. We added one more additional item from what I told you.
Hold on, I just couldn't say about, so we're TAing the 7 articles in that package.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Along with, so this is a package of 16, 19, 20, 22, 23, 30, and Appendix B.
You want me to hand them all out?
Lucky number 7.
We can share in it.
3 of them? I think I can manage
So you
3.
say 23 was in that mix?
Yes.
23 years, yes.
Same again, Aaron, sorry, I wasn't.
No problem. 16, 19, 20, 22, 23, and 30.
Oh, let's start with it.
Plus
Plus the.
the Appendix B, MOU, part-time MOU,
That makes it lucky 7. That I knew, I was trying to get to 7, okay.
Harry Potter.
Not very good. Okay, thank you.
Anyone else?
We're going in order because.
No,
Sure.
I know.
My word.
No,
Like,
that.
how am I supposed to vote?
That thing is
Flip
ridiculously
through
hard.
my binder.
I apologize to everyone,
Now I got 2.
Oh, appendix.
and I'm messing things up. What was that short? 30 is what you're missing?
Yep, that's what I'm.
Yeah,
Thank you.
23 B.
Trying to get it.
I can.
This is like freaky to have 7 of us.
Mark, I didn't get 30.
Well, but it's not possible.
Mine are sequential.
As they should be, as they should be.
Thank you. 3, 4, 5. 16 and 18.
And none of these.
Yeah, you guys about your pass out game.
Yeah, you're like multiple people going there, you're like weaving in and out of each other, trying to cause confusion. It's pretty, like,
I'm confused with credit, right?
Or confusion credit.
I don't need that.
I don't know.
Does this one need passed out?
16, yeah.
Aaron, I think you're kind of.
I got 19, 20.
See if this.
So our teams get them there?
Yes.
Maybe I can just send it down, let's.
Okay.
Thanks. It is quicker than.
And
I just got DNA on it.
Short 30s.
Here's a 30. Do you need a 30?
You get credit. 30s.
I got extra 30.
that's why it's.
I don't have
Thank you.
You didn't put two down as.
I don't have.
What's left?
Oh, when I go to splits.
And I got.
Column.
Oh, those columns drive me crazy.
Well, here's the thing, is when I go to split the column,
What do you want first?
it stops letting me.
I've got 23 and B for you, I don't have 30.
And all this goes away. and I'm like,
Well, there's the extra one, I'm pretty confident. And I don't have anything.
I have some extra 16s. Does someone need a 16?
I got
No.
30.
Two 30s?
See,
He said.
That was the one that was probably.
I feel vindicated.
Yeah.
Mark said, I can even have that here.
Don't check out.
Be quiet.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, how is this working?
I can see if you can.
I'm gonna go with needs improvement. You put me under the mouth.
All right, I'm kind of working blind here because I'm working from the previous proposal to compare it to our proposal. All right. So for site council, on Article 16, your team previously, this was back on the 313, March 13, countered 16 with a $35 per hour work on site council members who work outside the regular day. And we're basically agreeing to that change instead of our previous 50. Ready on to 19? Okay, so we picked up your language. We still have the strike of part paid time beyond the regular 8-hour workday will not be required. And instead picked up your language. It says members are not required to participate in unpaid voluntary committees nor required to attend unpaid voluntary workshops. But we're continuing with our language for some compensation here. But we are reducing the total, the total ask on this. So when staff are asked and agree, we changed our language up there from our previous proposal. To participate in training that is, we really wanted the asked and agreed to match up with what the previous sentence was that you were proposing about voluntary participation. So asked and agreed to participate in training that is aligned with building practices and or school improvement plans, such as a wide variety of acronyms. They will be compensated for time required beyond the regular 8-hour workday at the building's rate of pay for substitutes up to $100 per day. So there's a cap on that pay of $100 a day. Instead of just an open-ended number of dollars. Okay. Article 20, tuition reimbursement, professional development. Previously, we were asking for more quarter credit hours. We're stepping away from our initial proposal of 9 quarter credit hours. Am I right? Yep. Thank you. So that's current contract, back to current contract for that portion. But the thing that our members really truly value is the professional development. And so we're asking to switch up the cash equivalent of up to 2 other credits per year to make it 3 other credits per year for costs and expenses of short-term experiences or workshops. Okay, so far. And then in 2, prepayment for professional development shall be made available by the district. Member wishes to have prepayment, member must obtain approval from the district at least 10 business days in advance of the registration deadline. Previously, we asked for 5, so.
And we do view that as a benefit for the district to have more time to get things done.
To help prepay that for those workshops. Continuing in F, for members who pay the cost of workshops or professional development. Upon completion of the workshop or professional development and filing paperwork, the district will reimburse the member no later than the next pay cycle. So that was largely our previous proposal. We didn't change that.
Can I,
Go ahead.
I don't know if it's sometimes, oftentimes, the reason that reimbursements might happen is because the member may not have uploaded something, or, you know, there might be something on the member's end that didn't get done that might delay it. So,
It's kind of on them.
Well,
Right,
it's,
so I
it's
just
at
wanna-
the filing of the paperwork, right? So they
Yeah.
need to take care of their business before any profit starts.
right, who paid for the cost of the
Yeah, you've
and
included
filing
that.
of paperwork.
Yeah, you've
Okay.
included that part of it in there, which I think makes sense.
So once the paperwork is in, then that,
Then
the
the
number
next,
starts.
correct.
Thank you.
Article 22. I'm also again flying blind here. This was the other piece that you previously proposed,
Yeah.
or your last counter on 22. I don't have it with me. So, the change at the top, the district reserves the right to establish and discontinue any member mentor program. So it puts both types of mentorship under the umbrella of that rule. Both the in-building mentors as well as the district member, or the district new teacher mentor program. Recognizing the district needs to have control over its finances, and it can't necessarily be forced to carry on a program that it's can't afford in times of financial strife. Boy, that's a big tab there next to B.
Brian.
You didn't
know
have
a
Brian
that?
can fix
You
that.
know a guy.
I'm a
You got a guy for that.
And first of all, it's next to B.
What's A?
Yeah, it's not next to A, it's next to B. That is correct.
Yeah.
Well, there's no A.
Yep.
Is it just mislettered or is something missing?
No, it's misled.
Okay, so
So.
Yeah, so
should-
A must have been the district reserves the right, yeah, so that's fine. We'll fix it. Brian will fix it.
So there's some strikes.
What do you mean?
what?
Well, we struck A,
Oh, there's a whole bunch, all of those letters
Yeah.
need to, it goes down to I.
and it changed from A to any, and so there were some changes there that are in current contract that are not reflected in what we present. Slight changes.
One is to.
Again, so the original language, this reserves the right to establish and discontinue a member mentor program.
Mhm.
That was A, we bumped it up to the title,
Mhm.
and we've changed A to any. But you can see, I mean, we bolded and underlined the whole thing, acting like it was new language.
Right.
Is what we did.
Right.
Most of that's coming.
Correct.
So we can take that.
Okay,
Mhm. It's easy to fix.
it is in its essence, new language because it applies to both pieces, but
Right.
it's just,
It has a different meaning.
Yep.
yes.
Yep.
So the additional language we're adding in A would be with a minimum of 3 years of teaching experience. Down in C,
And
Go ahead.
I believe that's your
That's our
language, and
language,
you took out the successful, because that's just not something that's defined anywhere.
Okay.
And so we didn't know what that meant.
No worries.
C, instead of compensation of 50, we're moving to 35.
D,
It should not, it is currently listed as D, but it should be C.
I got you.
And
I see what you're doing.
and was that our language as well? Like,
Yes.
yeah, okay.
And E, the same, provide additional professional days to support the mentorship program. The $35 in F follows the same amount of pay for those mentors. We're going to G. that is currently H, Mark?
Oh, that's just matching current language from TSBC.
Yeah, I'm really lost without having the document to compare it to.
Yeah, CPD is just outdated,
Yeah.
right? That's the, yeah.
That's from the nineties.
Your continuing professional development.
So section 2, district-wide, new teacher mentor program. I'm a little confused. Most of this
It's pulled from the MOU.
is pulled from the MOU, but the additional language is to add members in their first or second year of teaching in that first paragraph. Some of it's underlined, all of it's bold. It's confusing me.
Mhm.
So there's no need for anybody to sign a contract like they currently do. All dates occurring outside of the member's 8-hour workday will be provided at the new teachers in service in August. Mentees, instead of members who qualify, we changed the language up from mentors to, and it's basically mentors and mentees throughout this, just to clarify who we're talking about. But wanting to see those mentees receiving a $500 stipend for missing preparation time or lunch times for a meeting with their mentors for a maximum of once per week. The language in 4 is consistent with what it previously was. And then in 5, members may be required to attend up to 7 evening events related to the district-wide new teacher mentor program and shall be compensated for attendance at their hourly rate. We're looking to shorten the length of those events from 2 hours to 90 minutes or less in length. And 6, any members who cannot attend any evening event shall strive to give 5 days notice.
I'm asking out of ignorance, how long are these evening events typically, what are they?
Currently, they're 2 hours, because once a month, it's the New Educator Academy Day, for once a month,
And
for 2 hours.
2 hours.
And how much planning time is currently plugged into those, or like applying something that they're learning during?
It's kind of built into the workshop. So there's usually like an opening all group activity that kind of sets up like a theme, and then 2 breakout sessions where members can choose. So we'll usually offer 4 sessions, and members have the opportunity to choose 2 of them in a level, right? And so then within that time, it's usually about 45 minutes per breakout session. There's a topic, right? And then there's some Q&A and some application time. So.
And do you personally think 90 minutes is enough, or versus 2 hours? And that might not be appropriate to ask.
I mean,
but
I think
you're the one
it could be.
teaching it, so is that like a
Speaking
good
with her.
amount of
I
time?
think it could be, so that was presented as an option by the new teacher mentors. They proposed that as a way to, as a feedback, right, and as a way to shift costs
Yes.
as well.
Okay.
Because we do feel that it's important, the stipend for missing the prep time for those meetings was important, like increasing that amount, so using this as a way to balance that out.
I just wouldn't want to,
I think,
I think we're saying the same thing.
yeah,
It's
I
like
just
to
wouldn't want
shorten
them to
something.
lose that application time because we're trying to get,
Yeah.
because that's an important piece of good PD. So that was just why I was asking.
And
but
the only thing,
really, I mean, I think one way to look at it, right, though, is that those one-on-one meetings are probably the most valuable, and based on the survey that the mentoring program did, those were the main thing that people valued, was that one-on-one time. So if we can prioritize that, then that is the opportunity to apply what was discussed in NEA, right, in their individual context. Because NEA is also, it's difficult to individualize, because we're trying to cater to K through 12 teachers. Right, so sometimes it does become very general, so I don't think it's.
And you're doing that at the end of a long day.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Okay.
And the only thing I would want to add to that is, it says up to a maximum of 4, right? That's the maximum they can be required to do. Anytime someone would ask to have more meetings, this would not stand in that way. So if a new teacher is saying to their mentor, hey, I know we already met this week, can we meet again? There's no contractual issues with that.
So Article 23, work year. We previously proposed that the member may be assigned up to 3 days. I realize that the district, this is not a requirement, so if there are workshops or packages that need to be delivered and it takes 3 days, the district has the option to assign up to 3 days, but work beyond the established 192 days. And work year. So it's just that the extra work days will be attached to the calendar at the immediate beginning of the work year. Unless the member agrees to other times. We're clarifying, just adding the 192, 193 work year in front of the word work year. Clarify what that actually, the number again. And then I think we largely worked out the timing that we were discussing at the table between March 1st and March 15th, so that it gives a window instead of a deadline. It has to be on this day. Questions? We did some financial analysis. The financial analysis that we did today is really helpful in helping us spell out, what are the big pieces of money that are holding us up, and what are really very affordable, but also really important work for and important compensation for members who are doing important work for the district and for kids. And we are putting some priority around this piece for the DLI program. So the changes to the contract would be elementary and secondary members, including classroom teachers, reading specialists, counselors, teachers on special assignment, coaches, subject area specialists, and new teacher mentors. Be given the 3 additional days with pay at the member's daily rate immediately prior to the start of the school year. And these days shall not count against the 192 day work year. They'll be structured like the opening of school days with 1/2 of the time reserved for member-directed work purposes.
Can I ask you a question about that?
Absolutely.
More with current language than anything.
Yes,
We use the term school year, which we don't use very often. Does that mean those ELI days, like they can't be prior to the start of in-service week? They have to be the days immediately preceding students?
No, yeah, so the calendar.
You see why I'm asking that?
Yeah.
We say contract year a lot and stuff. School year to me is like, does that mean students?
We talked about this last time,
Yeah.
and
I just forgot what.
yeah, I think we agreed, we were all on the same page
Yeah.
about what it meant, but we may still need to clarify what the language actually says, but I think we were in agreement that they can be prior to those additional 3 days, right? Or in the case of this upcoming year, would be the 1 day that's added on, and then prior to that is the 3 days, these 3 days for both DLI and SED. And so we kind of had an understanding.
Okay,
Right.
if it's,
I
if
think
I'm the
it's
only one,
understanding, but I don't think I understand why the language is.
I mean, if I'm the only one
Yeah.
who isn't clear on it, that.
I think we struggled with how to clarify the language, but we seem to have a common understanding about what it
Okay.
means.
I do have a question about what immediately means though. In-service week starts on a Monday. I think.
Yes.
So does immediately mean Friday, Thursday, Wednesday of the
Yes.
previous week?
But not if there's these other additional days added.
Because there's a required HR day on Friday, curriculum days added on Thursday.
That's
So
what I
it's
was
Monday,
going.
Tuesday, Wednesday is how I understood our conversation.
That's.
Yes,
And it-
that was the understanding that we kind of came to, and that's,
Right.
when we looked at the calendar, right, we had that meeting.
It might be worth us putting an example in,
Yeah,
right?
Examples would be really good.
Yeah.
Help
We can-
eliminate that.
We don't mean for this to be complex or
Right, right.
confusion.
And
Kind
we
of,
may
but-
not all be here at
Right,
some point.
right.
And,
You're like, what
and
did
we
they
want
mean?
this
Yeah.
language.
Like, we always ask, what did they mean? when they were-
Where are you going, Tracy?
Do we wanna put in an example of the dates for this upcoming year that,
I think we
Yeah,
could.
I think that would be helpful.
yeah,
I think it would help us.
okay.
Okay,
Just be clear for whoever's reading it, what it means.
well, since the tennis ball is now in your court.
It's gonna be best.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I'll just put that in the same.
it's what we had already drafted. So.
So what would you
Yeah.
want? What would you want that to look like? I mean, where would those DLI days fall if there was additional days added before the 192?
So we know, I think we know. So the Friday before in-service is that HR day.
Right.
So new teachers are,
Teachers
that's a
today.
required work day for them.
Yep.
So it wouldn't start then.
Right.
We put in our notice on March 15th for that Thursday for a number of our staff.
Right?
So the 3 days prior to that would be Monday, Tuesday,
Monday,
Wednesday,
Tuesday.
so that everybody had the opportunity to go to the required Thursday and the required HR day.
Makes sense to me.
So I think that's what we could try to add. I do have a question about the list. I'm wondering who, with the list of staff that are there,
Mhm.
who would not be included? Like, do you see a PE teacher being a subject area specialist or so is it all licensed staff that are bilingual is my question.
Manpreet?
And I think that's gonna depend on what is done during those days, and I think especially if it's half of, so we're looking at 3 days, so 1.5.
She's asking. No, like who gets this?
For 3 days.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
got it.
so. Because part of that time is spent going over program goal, like very general program stuff, right? It's not necessarily all curriculum. So yes, a PE teacher doesn't need to be present if we're gonna be talking about wonders amount of BS, right? But if we're talking about program principles and implementation and language allocation and things like that, then those subject area specialists, if they are bilingual, would need to be present for that.
So rather than pay them HCW to attend the portions that they need to and not require them to be there, we would just automatically pay them for 3 days at that time? That's where so I think currently what we do
Hmm.
is we have some people that are required. It's in their contract or there is 3 days. It's currently our elementary classroom teachers, right, are required to be there. If there is someone else that the team needs to be there, they pay them to attend. So I don't see that's the nuance I'm trying to understand, because people who need to be there could still be paid to attend, but not be required to have 3 days of a contract.
I think that's a possibility. I mean, I'm just thinking about part of the purpose of those 3 days was also to allow additional time for planning and things of that nature, right? And so a music teacher, for example, hypothetical individual that we don't have yet, Sean doesn't look at one, right? But a music teacher who is bilingual and would then be potentially teaching in Spanish would have to then have additional time to find and or develop their curriculum materials, right? So that's part of what those 3 days is for.
So it's not if they're bilingual, it's if they're required to teach in Spanish.
Right, which would be, I mean, that's what we would hope for. If we had a bilingual music teacher at Highland or North or a bilingual PE teacher at Highland or North, we would hope to be able to have that person provide instruction in Spanish. Because that's something we're working towards in our program model, right? We know that we're not there right now, but.
Not necessarily, because that's part of their English instruction, right? That's their 20%
But
English.
not necessarily. I mean, again, those are all pieces that can be adjusted.
Yeah.
And
Okay,
part of the philosophy of the larger program that we're trying to build is to, at some point, be able to offer those electives and specials and whatnot in both Spanish and English.
okay, got it. Thank you.
Okay, what's that? Yes, it is. We're getting there.
Yeah,
Um,
and can you remind me, the stipend part is in 31. This is just the days, and the
stipends.
stipend is in
Stipends in
31.
31.
Yeah.
Am I missing some? So, yeah, move from Article 31 is, are the sped education members working as specialized certified special education staff. This was moved over from 31 because there are 3 additional days, the members' daily rate. So this is very much a work year type of issue, so we're pulling it
That
over
makes
here.
sense.
They're gonna be structured like the opening of school days with 1/2 of the time reserved for member-directed work purposes.
Can I say something?
Go ahead.
I wrote this and I don't like it, so, in both the DLI and the, special educator thing, it says these days shall not count against the 192, 193 day work year. And so here's what I meant by that. I think maybe towards is even better already. But what we saw was that the DLI and SPED folks already have the 192. They have the additional 3 days. So if I go back up to the beginning work year thing, we are limited, we're capped at 195 essentially, right? Because you have 192 days, you can put in 3 days of work beyond the established work year. So if there were any program training or something that wasn't the DLI or wasn't the SPED, this is saying they can't go. And we are trying to make it clear that they can go.
I think I understood that. Right.
Say that part again.
So the first paragraph, the work year says.
The little chunks that say against the 190.
No, and never mind that for now. The first paragraph back up in work year says that everybody's gonna have 192 days for returning teachers, 193 for new teachers. Members may be assigned up to 3 days beyond that.
Okay.
So if you look at DLI and SPED, they're at their cap already then, right?
Mhm.
And that's not our intent. And so if we had some program training or something else that wasn't DLI or wasn't SPED, because they already did those 3 days for DLI SPED, they couldn't do the program. And we are trying to say that's not our intent. They could do that additional training as well if required or needed for that.
So in the example we've used, even that Thursday that we've required people to come back.
Yep.
Would put them over. That's not what you're saying?
And we're trying to say the SPED days and DLI days
Yeah.
don't count towards that total. And I don't.
Yeah, I see what you're saying in terms of how
Can we
that's not
say-
easy to phrase that.
Can we say DLI and SPED is
Or
195?
in addition.
No, because there's all sorts of issues.
With
I
that?
really love staying with the 192-day work year. And so if we start changing individuals' length of work years, it gets real complicated in other ways.
We know that the salary schedule says 195. Because that's the way we calculate it, but putting that
It's
into.
not.
Hey, Mark, is it that the days wouldn't count against any of the up to 3 additional days? It's not necessarily that they don't count against the
Right.
93, they don't count against
Something.
I see Brian's logic.
the potential 3 days. Right,
We can come up with something.
yeah.
It's the 192 days that they don't count against.
No, I mean, I understand both of those things.
Yeah. Okay.
That's why I wanted to talk about
I
it.
understand what you guys mean at least.
Yeah.
Additional previous. They're not.
It's not our intent for it. They need, they
Give it a-
participate, they
a
should be able
stab.
to. Thank you.
They don't count against either.
This is what you're saying.
Correct, right.
They don't count against either the 192 or the possible 3 additional.
We
days.
just.
Might be the
leave it
way to
like that.
phrase
These
that.
days don't count.
They don't.
Yeah.
There you go. Walk away from it.
These people can do all the things.
They can do all
Okay,
days
the other-
plus their DLI or special ed days.
The other day, change the language in this next paragraph on page 2 is about Juneteenth, falling on the, within a member work year. It will be an unpaid, non-contract day. Parties will meet prior to drafting a proposed calendar to decide if the statewide service will be a non-contract day. We're going, continuing with the strike of conference preparation. And the strike of these days are based on the 0708 conference schedule, which, as we explained previously, is why I'm gonna jump to E again at the very end on page 3. Continuing with our conference preparation time. And again, what we primarily mean about conference preparation is whole school type of conference prep. Where all parents are invited, if those don't align with a regular grading day or a grading period, I mean, if they are just placed somewhere on the calendar where they don't get the time to do their prep because they're not doing also their work around grading, that they should receive 8 hours of preparation time for those conferences. Just giving them time and space to do that work.
So I'm asking now because I've only been here a little bit of time,
Mhm.
2 years.
Mhm.
So with this 0708 conference schedule, is that really fall and spring conferences?
Yes.
And we now don't do one of those?
We don't do spring break.
So would it be in the case of if the district ever has a spring conference again? Rather than
We gave a
for
blanket.
any conference, that's kind of
Mm,
a little leaves, I'm just throwing out
I
there
get
what
it.
we might be thinking.
Because-
If the goal is to just ensure that that's
I-
kind of accounted for.
We understand the district's doing targeted conferencing, particularly for schools. That are, what's the word? Targeted schooling, targeted schools. We understand that that's going.
Mhm.
If members are being asked to spend an evening meeting with a few parents, you know, it would count towards their one evening elsewhere in the contract. Of evening work.
Rather
One
than
of, one of their 2,
conference day.
Hmm?
Rather than this.
but it would not include the 8-hour day, right? That's what we talked
Cause
about.
that's a different type of.
Hmm?
It's because it's a different type.
It's a different type. of- it's a
Like the
different type of-
idea is you'd only be getting ready to present for a few students rather than every single student that you teach.
Right.
Which is a pretty big difference in workload there.
Yes. Um. So we come up with some more creative language around,
What letter are you on?
we're going back to C. Inclement weather and emergency closure. Instead of the meet and confer, we're trying language that says collaborate to find creative solutions on modifications. The calendar. In the case that, that days need to be made up because of inclement weather. Or, I'm sorry, instructional hours need to be made up. And then at the end of that paragraph, if staff are requested and agree to stay beyond their regular contracted workday, they shall be compensated minute for minute at their hourly rate. Under crisis, we heard you, when we were attempting this language before, under crisis and disaster closure. We added, adequate staff as determined by the administration and the safety response plan will remain on duty to supervise students until they are able to depart safely. If staff are requested to stay beyond their regular contracted workday, they shall be compensated minute for minute at their hourly rate. So.
And that sounds like it's already, thought we determined that's already happening.
Yes,
What do you,
this has never been used.
what do you mean by a safety
Hopefully.
response plan? Is that something that's like, in the moment, this is our plan, or is that some pre,
Yeah, Ted, that's my
pre-emergency?
building.
Yes.
And so, he likes preparing for things, and so, as far as I know, we have a plan in our building for who can stay and who wouldn't. I think that kind of just like a general check-in, like who would be willing to stay if this happened. And having that list somewhere would be awful handy, right? Because you don't want, as a principal in that moment, to be trying to find out who can stay and who can. And so having a list would be nice.
Okay, that's what.
It would definitely be something that the safety committee could work on. Okay, that's everything for Article 23. Article 30, retirement. Something occurred to us, we've been trying to expand the number of members who are eligible for the retirement from June 30th, 1999. There are folks in our membership who qualify for none of this. There are folks who are hired basically after 2004 and after that qualify for retirement benefits from this article. And there are members who were hired prior to June 30th, 1999, who qualify for benefits in this article. But there is a chunk from June 30th of 99 to those hired in 2004 who do not qualify for any of it. So we'd like to expand the new members from 1999, basically adding 5 years instead of the 10 that we asked for previously. So that we cover up that gap.
Can I ask you a question on that? I'm just trying to, is it because the 99 to 2004 fire date people are not officer?
Yes,
Correct.
And so they don't come under coverage of E?
that's correct. Other questions? Appendix B. All of this is, everything to do with part-time members who teach and advise. So the way that advisory has been scheduled and is part of a full-time member's instructional minutes or instructional time that they spend with students. And notice that it's not dealing with elementary, but it's definitely all secondary. The way that that is calculated is we have an advisory period, but the length of the other periods is reduced. So all of the instructional minutes still match for those folks that are full-time. But someone who is part-time, there are periods that they are not teaching in which the length of the advisory period is still taking up. We did a calculation, and it would basically take up 0.03 FTE for high school members and 0.06 FTE for middle school members for teaching that advisory class because of the length of periods not covering their instructional minutes for part-time members.
I could just add again, middle school works clarity in my head because I'm middle school. But if you hire a morning part-time person for middle school and an afternoon part-time person for middle school, and high school works the same, the morning person has to teach advisory and 3 classes. The afternoon person just teaches 3 classes and no advisory, and they both get paid the same. Right, so in the middle school, you get 20 minutes extra every day with kids as the morning part-time person for exactly the same pay right now as someone who doesn't teach advisory in the afternoons and teaches the 3 classes. So we're just looking to try and get some balance there. We're essentially asking every morning part-time person in our district to lose prep time to teach an advisory for no compensation. And we're just looking for some equity.
Thank you, Mark. And that's it.
If someone's, I'm just trying to think
Yeah, yeah.
through your example, if someone's just a couple of periods, it doesn't matter because it's still advisory, right? Like, doesn't matter if they're a 0.5 or a point whatever, a half a day is a period, right?
Advisory
Well,
right now
it-
does
it-
not.
It doesn't,
consider-
it wouldn't matter what periods they've been assigned to, right? Like, and so this is where I do feel it's nuanced, at least at the high school level, because if a part-time employee is teaching, they begin period 3, let's say, and if they're assigned an advisory, I see kind of what you're saying, that's dipping the other direction. If they teach period 2 anyway, and advisories between 2 and 3, I would need to like examine the numbers more to see whether there really is that much of a change in instructional time. Because you're also adding in another passing period too. So you guys, you looked at it in terms of part-time employees who started teaching period 2 or period 3 in the high school schedule.
Cyrus?
Like, that would be my question, because
Well,
I think the implications would be
There's
different.
only
for
5
those
of
two.
them, so I.
Yeah, right,
Yeah.
and it's not a big number.
Yes,
I mean, we could take a look. I mean, I know we do that. We have to do that with part-time employees every year. All the time, right? Outside of advisory, we have to look at how does each day's minutes,
Yeah.
and we do end up adding those little .02s. And so I guess what I'm wondering is, why would this be any different than that?
Advisory doesn't count.
So the ghost of Cyrus is still with us. He's watching. And he texted us.
He can't stand it.
He's going crazy.
He's like, I have the answer, I have the answer.
So all part-time high school people are over their instructional minutes in violation of a collective bargaining agreement when they teach advisory, and it doesn't matter what period it is.
So so if you're a 0.5 person, you should have 0.5 of the instructional minutes, right? And because advisory happens, and at high school, it's only once a week? is that- Once a week, and so they're over on that day, their instructional minutes, and they should not be because of the contract.
It's also another instruction.
So that, right, so that's the calculation of the 0.03 for high school. Middle school, right, minus Wednesdays, we're daily with advisory. And so our total amount of time is far greater than the high school.
No, I think
4 days a week.
Yeah, so other than
Is
Wednesday.
it 4 days though at all of them? I thought some-
4 days a week, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that what we're gonna have to figure out or hammer out is minute for minute compensation, or is it a period, is it a prep period?
Yeah, because
Because that's what the ask for the compensation is for the 0.03 and the 0.06, which would.
Yeah, it's because they don't teach.
Those numbers came up, I think, because that's equivalent to a period, one of the periods in a day. I don't know where the
No,
0.03.
a period a day would be 116, to be significantly,
That was the 0.17,
yeah,
and so.
or 16, I'm sorry, yeah. So that's
Divided by the
0.17,
number of days.
right?
So we would just have to,
Right.
it's just a deeper conversation, because we did compensate folks who were over in instructional minutes.
Right.
But we paid in the minute per minute, like if you're teaching more time, then we paid you for the time. And what you're saying is it's not necessarily about the time, it's about the number of periods that they're
And
teaching.
it's a combination of things, right? Yeah.
So that's just a deeper level conversation we'll have to have and see what the implications would be on other.
Well, and I think the other thing to pay attention to is, in addition to time, is, as we're talking about prep for advisory, that is something that we are doing outside of what regular classroom teachers are expected to do, because we are providing the content.
You
very well might provide the content, but then the teachers have to deliver that and grade it.
And-
So
and
the
monitor
grade-
it.
High-
We don't,
high
yeah,
school
we don't grade.
Middle school does.
Yeah, so high school is grading what is turned in on exit tickets. And that is a 0.25 credit at the high school level on transcripts, so.
So
So
So I think this is just a bigger bigger conversation.
Well,
We don't see
These
it
folks-
being a big hit, right? I mean,
Well, financially, I don't think that's not my issue, right? There's 6 people. It's not about the pay. It's about what implications this is for the advisory and what that means and how much people are putting into time, how much prep time counts or doesn't count,
Well-
you know, so.
and when I said prep time, I mean their before school prep time, right? Not prep time for advisory.
Right.
It's their prep for their other classes that they are giving up in order to teach the advisory.
See, and I look at the prep and advisories at high school, we have to
Right.
grade
But
at the end because they turn it in, so that grading does come on our prep time. Because we have to evaluate that because it does go on the
This has-
transcript as a.
this has everything to do with the limit on instructional minutes within the contract. And the problem all comes down to the fact that a part-time person does not teach the 6 periods. They teach a portion of those 6 periods.
Well, and again, for me, it is all about the equity piece for me in my head, right? Like if I'm a 0.5 person, how can I have an additional class than you do? You're a 0.5 person, but you work in the afternoons. I'm a 0.5 person. I work in the mornings. And every day at a middle school, I get advisory.
And there's more time that you're in front of kids.
Right, I mean, so, you know, and it's 20 minutes more a day, except for Wednesday. And so that to me is the hard pill for me to swallow, is that there's really no equity between the morning and afternoon people.
But those staff members are meeting their prep minutes, right? They're getting their prep minutes.
Part-time,
actually over.
They're over.
They're usually over, they usually get.
Get more time.
Yeah, and I'm looking at our Monday schedule. Yes, they start, a part-time person who teaches period 2 and teaches advisory starts 5 minutes earlier. So there's an increase of 5 minutes instructional time there, but there's an extra transition because of advisory. So they actually get that 5 minutes back in another passing time. So it ends up the same instructional minutes. So I guess I'm hearing 2 things. I'm hearing some argument for instructional minutes, and I'm also hearing the teaches number of periods taught versus afternoon versus morning, right? And those are different, right? If you think of advisory as like a period, right?
They're 2 sides of the same mathematical problem.
Well, it's 4:20. Oh.
oh.
I mean.
I don't know what that means.
Literally,
Yeah.
that was
I
4:20.
don't understand.
I'm with you now.
Sorry, that was.
That was a middle school moment.
That was. a moment ago.
That comment to make.
Thank you for all of your work on this. We do need to sign off if we're agreeing to.
Yeah, and so I don't know if we have something to sign. I mean, this is the one with the structured change that we were, the handwritten changes that we talked about at the beginning.
And Article 18?
Yes,
Yeah, I think so.
okay.
I believe you want to take a look at it. and make
Can you
sure-
reprint it, you mean?
Yeah,
The ones that we just got.
the ones that I just handed out, did they get the new 18?
Efficiency right there. Look at that.
Doesn't matter. I'll give them to you. when you have them.
Okay,
So
Just
take a
want
look at
them on
that.
blue paper.
We just need to print it to be able to sign, so we'll have that, but the new, you want to double check to make sure that looks good.
I don't know if I'm checking it again.
But it was just,
I'm just looking at those changes. Two
Just
changes.
that,
It's just those changes.
Okay.
All right,
cool, and if you want to put those with yours.
I'm gonna throw this other one. away.
You're gonna throw in another one?
They're all out.
Oh, I was gonna say,
we don't do that.
just throw it in there. And are you,
Uh-huh.
Eric, are you open to, if we do some work on this in the next few days? We only have one more left. If there's some language I can throw your way that you kind of take a look at and see if we're on the right track, so.
Yep. We can
Yeah,
get feedback.
yeah, and be ahead of the game.
Great.
Or
Do we want to talk about
June.
Other meetings? that you guys
After
want?
the fourth, or?
Yeah.
Our meeting person is not here right now, but if we wanna put, I know Brian's gonna take his kiddo to college. And it's shortly after, I mean, that's in college stuff, or graduation, maybe that's what we're doing.
It's graduation.
Graduation time.
Is there any thing copy?
Yeah.
Okay, I already got that, so.
Do you want to
Thank
keep
you.
recording?
I can, I'm now paid for it. We can stop recording.
Yep.